Let's talk about the Steelers, everything that they have done in the offseason so far, what they can do in the NFL draft to help strengthen this team, and why they could be a dangerous team in the NFL playoffs, and if they're not, why Mike Tomlin's job could be in serious jeopardy. Now, this is not a video for me saying that Mike Tomlin deserves to be fired if this team does not go out there and they do not perform up to standard. It's about going back in the last couple of years and saying, hey, that this team has not performed up to standard, even when they had those superstar players. I look at the Steelers right now as a team that's went out there and they made a lot of moves. They have never went into free agency and made this many moves at once. Omar Khan, this is his second year being the general manager with this team, and he has been very aggressive with going out there and getting the right quarterbacks with this team that fit the system of Arthur Smith, and he's given Mike Tomlin two solid options to be a starting quarterback with this team long term. Now, it will be a tough division to win, because you have the Baltimore Ravens, which the Steelers have always had their number in the last couple of years, especially when Lamar Jackson has been the starting quarterback. The Cleveland Browns, some people may laugh at that. That's the only team that beat the Steelers last season in this division. Then you had the Cincinnati Bengals. If Joe Burrow is fully healthy, we know how great they can be, but their defense is atrocious. The Steelers only lost one game in this division last season, and that was with quarterbacks like Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, and Mitch Trubisky. And give Mason Rudolph his credit, because he was the best quarterback in that room. You no longer have any of those quarterbacks on the roster. You now have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Russell Wilson, a lot of people believe that, hey, he's going to come over to the Steelers. It's a great chance they're going to bring him in. And there was the assumption he was going to be in competition with Kenny Pickett. Well, Kenny Pickett ran away. He's now with the Philadelphia Eagles. And this team made a shocking move to go out there and get Justin Fields. Right now, all the signs are pointing towards Russell Wilson being the starting quarterback with Justin Fields being the backup. And if Russell Wilson's not good enough, then you can slide in Justin Fields. I don't care who the quarterback is, unless it's just a guy that can go out there and just give you good production. That's all the Steelers need. A quarterback that can go out there, be efficient on third down, get the football out quick to the playmakers like Pat Freiermuth and to George Pickens, because the run game is going to do his thing. Najee Harris has had over 1,000 yards rushing every single season in his career. Najee Harris just was 7th in rushing leaders with 1,035 rushing yards on the season and 8 rushing touchdowns. He averaged 4 yards a carry. And the kicker is this: he was splitting carries with Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren had 784 rushing yards on the season, 4 rushing touchdowns. He averaged 5 yards a carry. And the thing is with Jaylen Warren, he's more of the speed back with his team. He's more explosive. He had a great run against the Cleveland Browns this season. Then you look at a guy like Najee Harris. He could come in. He could be that Derrick Henry type with this team. He can get you those 4 to 5 yards with physical contact, and next thing you know, Jaylen Warren is coming in. And the run game was not at its full potential until the back half of the season when Mason Rudolph did come in. They did run the football very well at points of times with Kenny Pickett, but they'll just load the box up with that kid. And they did the same thing with Mitch Trubisky. You go out there with a guy like Russell Wilson, who can distribute the ball to guys like Pat Freiermuth, and he can distribute the ball to guys like George Pickens. You're going to be in a better situation because you cannot put the safeties down in the box. And one thing that we know about Arthur Smith, who is the brand new offensive play caller with this team, he loves to run the football at will. He did it when he was an offensive coordinator with the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry had some of his best years underneath Arthur Smith. Ryan Tannehill had some of his best seasons in his entire career, even dating back to college, underneath Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith was a terrible head coach and a terrible play caller with the Atlanta Falcons. But going back to being in that play calling role, I think that they'll be in a better situation altogether. And Mike Tomlin has to hit this offensive coordinator. Some people may say, hey, Randy Fichtner wasn't his guy. Big Ben, he wanted to bring in Randy Fichtner. They'll say, hey, Matt Canada wasn't his guy. Big Ben wanted to bring in Matt Canada. But Matt Canada was calling plays after Big Ben retired. So don't give me that. Matt Canada was a terrible offensive coordinator, and so was Randy Fichtner. So hopefully Arthur Smith can be a better offensive coordinator with this team. The last solid offensive coordinator that they had was Todd Haley, and he got fired because they could not score in the red zone. This is a Steelers team with how they're made up right now. They should be able to score in the red zone very consistently with that run game that they have. And I do worry about the offensive line. Now, they did go out there. They cut Big Chucks, who was at the tackle position. I love that move. It saved you a lot of money. He's now with the Patriots, and they cut Mason Cole as well. In the first round, with you getting both of those quarterbacks in Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, you're not going to go a quarterback now in the first round. And you're not going to go a wide receiver either. When was the last time the Steelers drafted a wide receiver in the first round? They always get these guys in the second, third, or fourth round, and they make those guys beast their rookie season. Look at George Pickens. So they can go out there and get an offensive lineman. Jackson Powers Johnson, the center from Oregon, would be great with this team if he is there with the Steelers. He's going to go out there and be a road raider with this team. And I do expect for him to be there on the board for the Steelers as well. You go out there, you put him in the middle of that offensive line with a guy like Broderick Jones that you drafted in the first round in last year's draft class, and this offensive line will look better because the offensive line has not been the same either since Mike Munchak decided to leave the organization. Since then, the offensive line has not been the same, so they need to get more aggressive with the offensive line. And then you also look at it from this standpoint. They traded Deontay Johnson to the Carolina Panthers. Now, he did have some major lapses this season. It was a fumble against Cincinnati Bengals. He walked off. He just fanned it off. He said, man, forget this. I'm not getting the targets. But he was an elite separator with this team. He did have some major drops. You do have some solid wide receivers with this team. You have Pat Freiermuth, like I mentioned before, a very underrated tight end, has not been used to his top potential since his rookie season because Big Ben loved to use tight ends. Russell Wilson in the past has had a good rapport with using tight ends. Hopefully he can get Pat Freiermuth to that next level like how he was playing his rookie season. He's also dealt with some injuries as well, but when he's on the field, he'll get open, and he's a very good run blocking tight end as well. George Pickens is phenomenal. George Pickens on 63 catches had 1,140 receiving yards, 5 receiving touchdowns. That's 18 yards a catch. That is crazy ability from this guy that did not get over 70 catches on the season. This is a guy that can stretch the field, get on top of cornerbacks. He can march cornerbacks in space, get him involved. He is the true number one wide receiver with this team. They're going to double cover him. But who else on this team can go out there and beat that single coverage? Calvin Austin III had some solid moments this season, like how he did against the Las Vegas Raiders, but he only had 17 catches for 180 yards. He's not ready to be a true number 2 wide receiver. And you also went out there and you signed Van Jefferson, only 20 catches on the season for 209 receiving yards and 0 receiving touchdowns. This is a guy that got drafted by the Los Angeles Rams, has some good moments, but was still a developing player. Maybe the Steelers can develop him to the next level, but you definitely have to go out there and get another wide receiver in the 2nd or 3rd round to help out a guy like George Pickens. But right now, the offense does look better from a personnel standpoint than they have in the last couple of years. I like the hire of getting Arthur Smith. I think that Russell Wilson will come in. He'll be a solid quarterback. He's not going to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. 26 passing touchdowns to 8 interceptions. That is very good enough for the Steelers to get them over the top because of how good their defense has been the last couple of years. I'm going to talk about their defense in just a second. But they need to go out there and get some major moves offensively, whether it's bringing in a guy like Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, but you got both of them. And if Russell Wilson's not playing up the standard, I wanted to ask you guys this early in the video. Should they go on and should they just go and play Justin Fields? Now, Justin Fields has very good numbers, but when you look at the eye test on the film, he is a raw quarterback, a big arm. He likes to run around a lot and he holds onto the football. Russell Wilson will hold on to the football as well, but he'll also get rid of the football. Sean Payton did a lot of good things with him this season. The reason why he was released from the Broncos, they were not going to pay all that money for Russell Wilson just to be a game manager and for a guy that did not fit Sean Payton's system, but he fits Arthur Smith's system. Very similar to Ryan Tannehill and is a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill a couple of years ago. So offensively, go out there, get some offensive line help in the interior. Try to get Jackson Powers Johnson. Honestly, I'll trade up for him if I was the Steelers to get this kid with this team because you're going to want to run the football as much as possible. On 1st and 2nd down, run the football with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren and put Russell Wilson, those play action bootleg situations. And I think that you can be in a very great situation in this division. And what makes the Steelers so scary to look at from a standpoint of this team only lost 1 game in their division last season. And that's when they had guys like Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky all playing games. Their defense was elite. Their defense was very good. Now, Coach Tomlin in the past has had some very bad defensive moments. Zach Wilson a couple years ago in the 4th quarter, he shredded this defense. Gardner Minshew this season, he shredded this defense. James Conner ran all over this defense. And I understand the injuries. The interior linebacker spot was decimated. No Cole Holcomb. He went down against the Tennessee Titans, and he's a very good linebacker. The problem is the injuries with this kid over and over again. And you also had Landon Roberts as well, who played very good for when he had to come in for the back half of the season and into the NFL playoffs. They were so thin in the middle linebacking spot, they had to come in, they had to call in Miles Jack. So Omar Khan went out and said, man, you know what? Let's bring in Patrick Queen. Patrick Queen had a great season this season with the Baltimore Ravens. I'm very skeptical of Patrick Queen. I'm not going to say that he is a bad linebacker because he's not. He had 84 solo tackles, 3.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception, but his numbers inflated to the next level when they made that trade for Roquan Smith. Patrick Queen was not the best linebacker with the Baltimore Ravens when they traded for Roquan Smith. And a couple of years ago, the Baltimore Ravens, they were not that high on Patrick Queen during his rookie and sophomore season. He showed flashes, but it was not consistent. He's playing alongside Cole Holcomb, who is a very good veteran. But if Cole Holcomb goes down for a couple of games, you're depending on Patrick Queen to go out there and be the guy. I've just haven't seen him do that without Roquan Smith. And it has been times he'll go out there, he'll roam around, he'll make some major plays, he'll go out there, he'll blitz, he'll rush the passer. Maybe Coach Tomlin can get the most out of him. We will see. I like the signing. It's not me saying that I hate the signing at all. I really like the signing. It gives them depth and it gives them a true starter. But some Steeler fans are coming on here and making it seem like that this guy is going to be their next Ryan Shazier. I don't believe that. I think he's going to come in, be a solid linebacker, make some good moments, but it gives him a consistent player in the middle of the defense. And I would love for him to be a superstar with this team. He's going to play hard against the Baltimore Ravens because the Baltimore Ravens basically say, hey, we're not going to be able to go out there and afford to keep you. We have Roquan Smith. We paid Lamar Jackson. You can go on and walk away. He felt disrespected. He is now with the Steelers. But having him and Cole Holcomb, that's a very solid linebacking duo, and it can get scary as well. Because on the flip side of things, he's never played with a pass rusher like TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith. Justin Matabuke, very good for the Baltimore Ravens. But TJ Watt is next level. TJ Watt is the best defensive player in the NFL. And you have a guy in TJ Watt that's going to go out there and get double and triple team. 19 sacks on the season, 4 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. And you look at a guy like TJ Watt, he was out against the Buffalo Bills in that playoff game. When you look at that playoff game, they cannot go out there and they cannot consistently get pressure unless it was Alex Highsmith. They have to find a guy that could come in and just give you rotational depth that could come behind TJ Watt, not be TJ Watt per se, but put the pressure on the quarterback, and they have to be able to go out there and adjust as well. Coach Austin has not been able to do that, and he's the defensive coordinator with this team. If he cannot truly do that without TJ Watt, that's a sad sign to see, because it seems like when every other defensive player goes down, for all the good work that he did when the middle linebackers went down, when the safeties went down, when TJ Watt goes down, the defense does not look the same. And that's just how great TJ Watt is. So Coach Austin does a lot of good things, but at the same time, he's been exposed without TJ Watt. And granted, that's their best defensive player. That's their best player on this team. But the best coaches in the NFL, they know how to go out there and adjust on the fly. Coach Austin has not been able to do that in the last couple of years when TJ Watt has went down. They are below 500 without TJ Watt, and they are over 500 with TJ Watt playing, regardless of who the quarterback is. That is just how great that kid is at that pass rushing spot. But Alex Highsmith did not have the double-digit sack season this season like how he did a year ago when he had 14.5 sacks on the season. But he did have 7 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions. And guess what? The pressure rate was up for Alex Highsmith. Alex Highsmith looked very good this season. Flipped back into coverage, and the defense was winning this team some games. If the defense can go out there and still play up to that next level, and they have that full confidence in Russell Wilson, and they can still be disruptive, there is no reason to why the Steelers cannot go out there and make a deep playoff run at all. You have Micah Fitzpatrick. He dealt with a lot of injuries this season. He was not the same Micah Fitzpatrick, but we all know when he's fully healthy, he's one of the best safeties in the game. DeMonte Casey is a very good safety as well. If he can stay on the field, we will see. They did go out there and they signed Deshaun Elliott as well. Deshaun Elliott had 7 pass deflections, 1 interception, and 53 solo tackles. Then you have Joy Porter Jr. For the first half of the season, had a lot of ugly moments, but some good moments as well. On the back half of the season, for the last 4 to 5 games, he played very well. He wasn't holding as much, and he didn't give those many yards. I think that Joy Porter Jr. can be the number 1 corner with this team for years to come. And they did go out there and they traded Deontay Johnson for Dante Jackson, the cornerback from the Carolina Panthers. Now, Dante Jackson is a press man corner, very fast, very physical, similar to what the Steelers wanted many years ago when they drafted Artie Burns instead of William Jackson III. They wanted William Jackson III because of how physically imposing he was and how quick he was. Well, you have that now in Dante Jackson. He fits the Mike Tomlin system, and he fits the Coach Austin system as well. And it all brings me to this. With all the moves that Omar Khan has made, this team has never been this aggressive in free agency in the last decade or two. If they do not go out there and they do not have major playoff success, I mean win a playoff game or two, Mike Tomlin's job is going to be in question. And I know a lot of people like Coach Tomlin. I like Coach Tomlin as well. It's not me saying, hey, that Coach Tomlin is a scrub and no one's going to pick him up. Many teams around the NFL love to have Coach Tomlin. The Atlanta Falcons would love to have Coach Tomlin. The New York Jets would love to have Coach Tomlin. The Carolina Panthers would love to have Coach Tomlin. But you haven't had a playoff win since 2016. Since then, it has been abysmal loss after abysmal loss after abysmal loss for the Steelers in the NFL playoffs. The last 4 playoff games, 31 points allowed, 42 points allowed, 48 points allowed, 45 points allowed, 41 points allowed in the last 4 playoff games. And I understand when you went against the Cleveland Browns, Big Ben was not the same. The offensive line was not the same. You got outmatched by the Cleveland Browns. I fully understand that. Big Ben wasn't the same. You could use the excuse. But not to have a playoff win since 2016. They've had some very good football teams since then. And they came up short with the Killer Bees era when they had Big Ben, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell. They should have at least went to the Super Bowl at least once. But instead they did not. And it's not all on Coach Tomlin because the culture with the team and a lot of things were out of his hands. Antonio Brown was a menace behind the scenes. Le'Veon Bell no longer wanted to play with the team anymore because he felt like he deserved more money. I fully understand that, but it's a stubbornness for Coach Tomlin as well. There was no reason for the Steelers to go out there and go in that 3-game losing streak when they lost against the Arizona Cardinals, when they got blown out by the Indianapolis Colts. When he was starting Mitch Trubisky instead of not starting Mason Rudolph, he mismanaged the quarterback position, and it seemed like he mismanaged it to the next level by starting Kenny Pickett in general. He should have just went out there and started Mason Rudolph from the beginning. So I do want to see Coach Tomlin be more successful with this team, but he has to come out this season and he has to be dominant. They have to go out there. They have to win a playoff game or two. As I record this video, Coach Tomlin has not signed a contract extension. And for the people that come on here and say, hey, it's going to be his decision, Omar Khan is doing things against the grain. When was the last time the Steelers went out there and they were this aggressive? So if Omar Khan is looking on the field and saying, hey, you got the right quarterback, you have the right pieces, and you still can't win a playoff game, it may be time to move on. But eventually in the next couple of years, if this pattern continues to happen, especially after this season, if that pattern continues to happen, they're going to have to make some major moves. They've changed offensive coordinators. They've changed defensive coordinators. People love Coach Tomlin. He's a very good football coach, but it's similar to the Andy Reid situation many years ago when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles. He got stuck to a certain point and they needed to change the scenery. The Philadelphia Eagles benefited from it and Andy Reid benefited from it as well. Maybe the Steelers need to change direction if they cannot go out there and be successful in the playoffs, and the same with Coach Tomlin. But I do trust this. The Steelers will be a hard team to beat, and they're going to be one of the better teams in that division with the Baltimore Ravens and with the Cleveland Browns as well. We'll see what the Cincinnati Bengals can do if Joe Burrow can stay fully healthy, but it's going to be a dogfight in that division. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about the Steelers, and can they win multiple playoff games for this upcoming season? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one, guys, stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.